Whispers of the Tide, Chapter 1, The Arrival. I needed to get away. Everything back home felt heavy. Deadlines, endless emails, broken promises. So when I booked the flight to this little island with its impossible blue waters and sleepy villages, I told myself it was just a break. Nothing more. I wasn't looking for anything. Especially not love. The taxi dropped me off at a modest hotel right on the beach. A salty breeze brushed against my face as I stepped out, carrying the distant sound of waves breaking against the shore. For a moment, just a moment, I let myself believe I could breathe again. My room was simple, white curtains dancing with the ocean wind, a bed that smelled faintly of coconut, and a balcony that opened straight to the sea. I dropped my bag and leaned over the railing, letting the sun kiss my skin. Below, the beach stretched endlessly, dotted with colorful umbrellas and lazy footprints. That's when I first saw her. She wasn't like the others, the loud tourists, the restless wanderers. She sat alone near the water, knees drawn to her chest, scribbling something into a notebook. Her hair, long and wild, caught the sunlight like strands of gold. There was a kind of quiet gravity around her, pulling me in before I even realized it. I should have turned away. I should have let her stay a beautiful stranger, a fleeting memory. But something, maybe the loneliness, maybe the magic of the island, made me walk toward the beach. I kicked off my shoes, feeling the warm sand squeeze between my toes. As I got closer, she looked up. Our eyes met. She smiled. Not the polite, distant kind, but a real, honest smile that reached her eyes. "Hi," she said, her voice soft like the whisper of the tide. "Hey," I replied, suddenly aware of how awkward I felt, standing there with no plan, no excuse. "Are you here to steal my spot?" she teased, patting the sand beside her. I chuckled, dropping down a few feet away. "I might be. Seems like you found the best one on the whole island." "Maybe I did," she said, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Or maybe the spot found me." There was a pause, not uncomfortable, but full, like the moment before a wave breaks. "I'm Jake," I offered. "Anna," she said. "Nice to meet you, Jake." We talked about nothing at first. The weather, the island, how time seemed slower here. She told me she was a writer, taking time off to finish a novel she wasn't sure anyone would ever read. I told her I worked in a job that didn't matter enough to explain. Somewhere between laughter and lazy silences, the sun began to set. The sky exploded into a painting of oranges, pinks, and deep purples. Anna closed her notebook and hugged her knees tighter, watching it like it was the first sunset she'd ever seen. "Do you ever feel like you're chasing something you can never catch?" she asked, almost to herself. "All the time," I said without thinking. She looked at me then, really looked, and I felt like she could see the parts of me I tried to hide, the cracks, the doubts, the tired dreams. We sat there until the stars came out, two strangers breathing the same night air, stitched together by an invisible thread. When I finally stood to leave, she looked up and said, "Same time tomorrow?" And just like that, without even realizing it, I said, "Yeah, same time tomorrow." As I walked back to my hotel, I realized something. Maybe I hadn't come here just to escape. Maybe I'd come here to find something or someone. And maybe, just maybe, she had too. Whispers of the Tide, Chapter 2, Tides of Connection. The next evening, I found myself hurrying toward the beach before the sun even thought about setting. There was a nervous energy humming under my skin, like I was about to meet someone important, someone who already mattered more than she should. Anna was already there, sitting in the same spot, her notebook abandoned at her side. This time, she waved when she saw me, a small, eager wave that made my chest tighten in the best possible way. I dropped down beside her, close enough that our shoulders almost touched, close enough that I could smell the faint, sweet scent of her sunscreen mixed with the salt in the air. "Thought you might not show," she said, a teasing glint in her eye. "And missed this." I gestured to the ocean. But we both knew I wasn't talking about the view. We talked again, but differently this time. Deeper, lighter, freer. She told me about growing up in a small town where everyone knew everyone's secrets, about how she dreamed of places where no one knew her name. I told her about my job that had swallowed my life, about losing pieces of myself one forgotten day at a time. We shared silly stories too, about bad dates, childhood dreams, embarrassing moments we usually kept locked away. Somehow, with Anna, it was easy to be vulnerable, easier than it had ever been with anyone else. When the sun dipped low, painting her face in gold and shadow, she stood up suddenly and pulled me to my feet. "Come on," she said, laughing. "Let's get our feet wet." Before I could protest, she ran toward the shoreline, her laughter floating back to me like music. I chased after her, the sand cool beneath my bare feet, the ocean roaring louder with each step. She waded into the water, squealing when the first wave splashed against her legs. I caught up just as another wave crashed, soaking both of us. She turned to me, laughing so hard she had to lean against me to stay upright. Our eyes locked. The laughter faded into something quieter, heavier. I reached out, brushing a strand of wet hair from her cheek. Her smile softened. Without thinking, without planning, I leaned in and kissed her. It was a soft kiss at first, tasting of salt and sun and something impossibly sweet. She kissed me back, her hands finding my shoulders, steadying herself, or maybe steadying both of us. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine, eyes closed. "I wasn't planning on this," she whispered. "Me neither," I admitted, "but I'm glad it's happening." For a long moment, we just stood there, the tide swirling around our legs, the stars beginning to pierce the darkening sky above. When we finally walked back up the beach, hand in hand, it felt natural, like something that had always been meant to happen, even if we hadn't seen it coming. We didn't talk much after that. Words felt too small for what was happening between us. Back at the hotel entrance, she stopped and turned to me. Her hand lingered on mine, warm and reluctant to let go. "Good night, Jake," she said softly. "Good night, Anna," I whispered back. And for the first time in a long time, as I lay in bed that night listening to the ocean, I didn't feel alone. I felt like something beautiful had just begun, something real. Chapter 3, Storms Within. For the next few days, we were inseparable. Mornings started with coffee on the beach, afternoons drifted by in lazy swims and shared laughter, and nights ended with long walks under the stars. It felt unreal, like living inside a dream I didn't want to wake up from. But dreams, like tides, are always moving, and sometimes they crash harder than you expect. It happened on our fourth evening together. We had rented a small boat from a local fisherman, planning to sail just along the shore. The sea was calm, the sky a soft watercolor of pinks and blues, and Anna was sitting across from me, her hair flying wildly in the breeze, her laugh lighting up everything around her. Somewhere between teasing jokes and playful splashes, she said, half joking, "So, what happens when this vacation ends?" The words hit me like a sudden wave, cold, jarring, pulling me under. I froze. I hadn't let myself think that far ahead. She noticed my silence, her smile faltering. "You don't have to answer," she said quickly. It was a stupid question. "It's not stupid," I muttered, tightening my grip on the oar. I just didn't have an answer she wanted to hear. Or maybe I did, and I was afraid to say it out loud. The mood shifted, the easy lightness between us dissolving into something heavier. We pulled the boat ashore in silence. The beach, once magical, now felt too wide, too empty. As we packed up our things, she finally spoke. "You know, Jake, it's okay if this was just a beautiful escape for you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I get it. Maybe that's all it was meant to be." "No," I said sharply, harsher than I intended. "It's not just that." She looked at me, eyes wide and shining with unshed tears. "Then what is it?" I opened my mouth and said nothing, because the truth was, I didn't know how to answer without making promises I wasn't sure I could keep. Anna shook her head, laughing bitterly. "You're just like everyone else," she said. "Good at beginnings, terrified of endings." The words stung more than I wanted to admit. She turned and started walking back toward the hotel, her figure growing smaller against the falling night. For a few seconds, I just stood there, frozen. Then I ran after her. "Anna, wait," I called out. She stopped but didn't turn around. I caught up, breathing hard, and stood beside her, unsure how to fix the fracture between us. "I'm scared," I said finally, voice raw. "Scared because what I feel with you, it's real, and I'm not used to real." Slowly, she turned to face me. "I'm scared too," she whispered, "but I'm here, Jake. I'm here now." The space between us felt fragile, delicate as a spider's web. One wrong word could tear it apart. I stepped closer, reaching for her hand. She let me take it. "I don't know what happens after this," I admitted, "but I know I don't want to lose you." Tears slipped down her cheeks, and this time she didn't hide them. She squeezed my hand, grounding me. "Then don't lose me," she said simply. We stood there, holding on to each other while the stars blinked into existence above us, silent witnesses to a fragile, desperate hope. That night, we didn't make promises. We didn't talk about the future. We just held each other until the world outside disappeared. And for the first time, I realized love isn't about having all the answers. It's about choosing to stay, even when the answers are terrifying. Chapter 4: Beyond the Horizon. The last morning came too soon. The island that had once seemed endless now felt painfully small, like time itself was folding in on us, pushing us toward goodbye. I sat on the balcony, watching the sun rise over the ocean, painting the waves in fire and gold. Inside, Anna was still asleep, her hair a tangle on the pillow, her breathing slow and steady. I wanted to freeze this moment, bottle it, keep it with me for all the days when the distance would stretch too wide, when the doubts would creep in. But life doesn't work like that. You can't bottle time. You can only live it and let it go. When she woke, we didn't speak about leaving. Instead, we spent the day the way we had spent all the others, walking the beach, stealing kisses when no one was looking, laughing at stupid jokes, pretending, just for a few more hours, that this was our world and no one could take it away. At sunset, we returned to our spot on the sand, the place where it all began. Anna sat cross-legged, tracing patterns in the sand with her fingers. I sat beside her, close enough to feel the warmth of her, memorizing every detail. The way her nose crinkled when she smiled, the tiny freckle just below her left ear, the softness in her eyes when she looked at me. "I don't want this to end," she said quietly. "Me neither," I whispered. We sat in silence, the waves speaking for us. Finally, she turned to me. "Maybe it doesn't have to." I looked at her, my heart pounding. "I live halfway across the world," I said. "You have your life, I have mine. How?" "We find a way," she interrupted. Her voice was steady, sure, "if we want to." And standing there with the horizon burning behind her, I knew I wanted to, more than I had wanted anything in a long, long time. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, worn notebook, one I had bought on my first day here but never used. Opening it to the first page, I wrote down my phone number, my email, every way I could think of for her to find me. I handed it to her. She smiled, blinking fast against the tears threatening to fall. Then she pulled out her own notebook, the one she was always scribbling in, and tore out a page. She pressed it into my hand. "My story," she said, voice breaking slightly. "It starts with you now. We didn't say goodbye. We didn't have to." When the taxi came to take me to the airport, she kissed me, long and slow and full of everything we couldn't put into words. "I'll see you," she whispered against my lips. "I'll find you," I promised back. And then I was gone, the island shrinking behind me, but the feeling of her laugh, her touch, her hope stayed with me, wrapped around my heart like a second skin. As the plane soared into the clouds, I clutched the page she had given me, her handwriting a lifeline in my hands. Somewhere beyond the horizon, Anna was out there, and somehow, some way, I knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning.